In the land of political comebacks, few are as dramatic as Donald Trump's return to the White House in 2024. After a brief hiatus, the self-proclaimed tariff man wasted no time in shaking up the global trade scene and reshaping the American economic landscape. With a stroke of his pen, he unleashed a wave of tariffs, primarily targeting China, and slashed taxes, particularly benefiting corporations and wealthy Americans. Trump's 2025 economic agenda is a cocktail of protectionism and trickle-down economics. It's a gamble, a high-stakes bet on American industry, and a bid to supercharge economic growth. But like any gamble, it comes with risks, and the potential consequences for everyday Americans are complex and far-reaching. The stage is set for a dramatic showdown, a clash between Trump's economic vision and the realities of a globalized world. As the curtain rises on this new act, the question on everyone's mind is, who will ultimately benefit from these bold policy moves? Buckle up, America, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Trump's tariffs are like a targeted missile strike on the global economy, with China squarely in the crosshairs. Electronics, textiles, and automotive parts, all staples of Chinese manufacturing, are facing hefty import taxes. The goal? To protect American jobs, revive domestic manufacturing, and reduce the gaping trade deficit with China. But Trump's tariff tantrum doesn't stop there. Mexico, a frequent target of his ire, is feeling the heat too, particularly in the agricultural sector. Fresh fruits and vegetables are caught in the crossfire, driving up prices for American consumers and squeezing Mexican producers. The message is clear. Trump is willing to use tariffs as a weapon, a bargaining chip in his quest for what he sees as fairer trade deals. But like any weapon, tariffs can inflict collateral damage, and American consumers and businesses are often caught in the line of fire. For many Americans, the impact of Trump's tariffs is felt not in the abstract realm of trade deficits and economic indicators, but in the aisles of their local supermarkets and department stores. Prices for everyday goods, from smartphones and clothing to car parts and groceries, are creeping upward, putting a strain on household budgets. Businesses too are feeling the pressure. Supply chains, those intricate networks that keep the global economy humming, are thrown into disarray as companies scramble to find alternative sources for their products. The increased cost of imported materials is squeezing profit margins and forcing some businesses to raise prices, further fueling inflation. There are winners in this tariff war, of course. Some domestic industries, shielded from foreign competition, are experiencing a resurgence. Manufacturing jobs, once lost to overseas factories, are slowly returning to American shores. But these gains come at a cost, and the question remains, will the benefits outweigh the burdens for the average American? Section 4. Tax cuts for some who benefits from Trump's tax plan. If Trump's tariffs are a targeted strike, his tax cuts are more of a shotgun blast, with the lion's share of the benefits landing squarely in the laps of corporations and wealthy Americans. The logic is classic trickle-down economics: cut taxes for the rich. And the benefits will trickle down to everyone else through increased investment and job creation. Corporate tax rates have been slashed, putting more money back into the pockets of shareholders and CEOs. The wealthy are toasting to lower income tax rates, leaving them with more disposable income to spend, save, or invest. But for the vast majority of Americans, the tax cuts are more of a drizzle than a downpour, offering modest relief at best. The question is, will this trickle-down theory hold water in practice, or will it exacerbate the already yawning gap between the haves and the have-nots, further concentrating wealth at the top of the economic pyramid? Section 5. The trickle-down illusion. Examining the impact of tax cuts on the economy. The jury is still out on whether Trump's tax cuts will deliver on their promise of economic revitalization. Some corporations, flush with cash from lower tax bills, are indeed investing in new infrastructure and technology, potentially creating jobs and boosting productivity. However, other corporations are using their newfound wealth for stock buybacks and executive bonuses, moves that benefit shareholders and CEOs but do little to stimulate broader economic growth. The impact on wages, a key indicator of economic well-being for most Americans, remains largely stagnant. The hoped-for surge in economic growth has yet to materialize. While some sectors have experienced an uptick, others are struggling to stay afloat amid rising costs and uncertain demand. The long-term impact of these tax cuts on the national debt, already ballooning to unprecedented levels, is another looming concern. Section 6. Winners and Losers: How Tariffs and Tax Cuts Are Shaping the Economic Landscape. The combined impact of Trump's tariffs and tax cuts is creating a complex tapestry of winners and losers in the American economy. Some groups are reaping the benefits while others are struggling to stay afloat. Middle-class families, the supposed beneficiaries of Trump's economic policies, find themselves caught in a tug-of-war. While some may benefit from modest tax cuts and potential job creation in manufacturing, they are also facing higher prices for consumer goods, squeezing their budgets and eroding their purchasing power. Farmers, once a bedrock of Trump's political base, are facing the brunt of retaliatory tariffs from China and other trading partners. Agricultural exports, once a reliable source of income, are plummeting, leaving many farmers struggling to make ends meet and questioning their future in the industry. Small businesses, the backbone of the American economy, are grappling with the double whammy of higher import costs due to tariffs and increased competition from larger corporations that benefited disproportionately from tax cuts. Many are struggling to stay competitive, forcing them to raise prices, cut costs, or, in some cases, close their doors for good. And then there are the most vulnerable Americans, low-income families already struggling to make ends meet. They are hit hardest by rising prices for basic necessities and often lack the resources to weather the storm of economic uncertainty. The trickle-down effect, if it exists at all, is too slow and too meager to reach those who need it most. Section 7. The Long Game: Uncertain Futures and Lingering Questions. As Trump's second term unfolds, the long-term consequences of his tariffs and tax cuts remain shrouded in uncertainty. Will they usher in a new era of American economic dominance, as his supporters claim? Or will they ultimately undermine the very foundations of the global economy, leaving a legacy of instability and inequality? The answers to these questions hinge on a complex interplay of factors: the responses of trading partners, the behavior of corporations, the resilience of the American consumer, and the political winds that will shape future policy decisions. One thing is certain: the stakes are high, and the outcome of this economic gamble will have profound implications for the lives of everyday Americans for years to come. As the drama continues to unfold, one can't help but wonder, is this the grand economic revival Trump promised? Or are we witnessing the early chapters of an economic tragedy?